Hello everyone and welcome back to another skyDM playthrough of the permadeath mode for No Man's Sky. Picking up where we left off in the last video, we had just seen on the horizon a really big, nice starport. You'll notice that the sound is going to be a little bit different today. For the audio, I did go out and purchase a much nicer microphone than just the one that was attached to my headset. I just kind of felt that the audio for the last couple of videos wasn't as good as what I think that the channel really deserves, or the deliciousness of my voice being delivered directly to your ears. With that being the case, I'm also not going to be then using the audio that was recorded with this, and I think that's going to give me a little bit more freedom to chop up these segments to make them more pertinent to the things that we're actually going to be doing in this video. So what are we going to be doing in this video? Well, the last time we left off, we were basically just trying to find shit to let us survive, trying to feed those systems on the pack that allowed us to make it on this planet that wants to kill us. So now that we've got the starport, I'm going to call it a starport. I like calling it a starport here in sight. The thing that I am now focused on is, I'm going to have to start making money. Since we didn't get a ship, and I'm not going to use the funds even selling the first ship to go towards another one, essentially playing it that we never even stopped there. And so the first key thing that we're going to wind up having to do, like I said, is make money. And so there's a number of ways to make money in No Man's Sky. This is just like one of those really, really difficult times because we don't have the resources available to us. We have not set up bases everywhere. We don't have refiners hooked up all over the base and whatnot. And at this point, we don't have even the blueprints to make a base so that we can start putting different and building out our technology trees. So with all that in mind, we have to just use what's on hand. The first thing that I gave a shot in was refining materials. So I started off with ferrite dust, and in permadeath mode, your inventory slots are limited to 250 ferrite dust per slot. You start off with 2 cargo slots that'll allow that to go up to 250. The point is that it takes a really long time in permadeath because mining resources is so hamstrung that first it takes a lot of time to get the resources, which I'm fine with. That's what I signed up for when I started playing the permadeath, as you will also. But when you start putting those things into the refiner also takes carbon or condensed carbon, which also has to be mined, and that's fine. So I'm feeding this into the machine, and I started like doing the conversions and whatnot, and I'm looking at it, and for 1 ferrite dust, you get 14, we'll call them dollars. You get $14 for every bit of ferrite dust that you put in there. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. It spits out pure ferrite, and that's worth 28. So, I mean, just to do the math, if you got 14 for ferrite dust, as I whip out the old calculator here, so that's 3,500 for the original, which means that we'll get 7 grand once that's turned into pure ferrite. And then that can also then be turned into magnetized ferrite, but that's at a 2-to-1 loss. So if we take the 125 that we're expecting to reduce to for the 2-to-1, but we're going to get 82 back per unit, it does go to 10,000. So for that original 250 ferrite, we will see 10,250 in the end, which isn't terrible, but it takes a long time. And so after having done that for a while, I decided that that probably wasn't going to be the way to go. And so another method that is typically done is economy crashing. And if you're unfamiliar with economy crashing, it's not something that we're going to be able to do in this video, just because we're at a port here on the ground. We're not at a space station. That's typically where it's done. So where that the case is that you'll make a ton of cobalt and you'll wind up selling it in the station, which will cause the economy just to tank completely. So whenever you go to try to sell more of it, the price might go from the 200 that it starts off at all the way down to, I don't know, some abysmal number, like 70 or 60 units. But what that does mean is that when you go to buy it back, it doesn't necessarily follow that exact same percentage loss. So if you were to then go buy it back from, say, some of the ships that are moving through, you'll get your entire amount back, plus a little bit more, because the buyback rates are still higher than what the sell-in rates are. Unfortunately, without even having to really talk about that much, is we're not at a space station, so we can't do that here. So the next thing, you know, if you wanted to try to just use cobalt to ionize cobalt instead of ferrite to pure ferrite to magnetized ferrite, you know, you're looking at, for one cobalt is like 200. So if you wanted to take cobalt and turn it into ionized cobalt, it goes from 200 to 400. But it takes 2 cobalt to make 1 ionized cobalt. So the actual numbers are like 198 to 401. But I mean, yeah, you're making like the tiniest couple credits between the two. It is absolutely not worth the time. So that is also out the window. So something that I had not done before was looking for alternative methods, because usually at this point when I'm like trying to get my ship, I already have the base ship. I'm going to use those use those dollars to put them towards the purchase of a new ship anyway. So I was actually kind of at a loss for just a little bit as I was running around, thinking that I was going to have to either just go back to some of the cave systems that I had visited and just start mining the snot out of cobalt. And that's when this thing shows up. Out of nowhere. I'm over there counting my individual particles of fucking ferrite dust, and Sean Murray puts in some line of code that says when it's absolutely impossible for the player to be able to afford it, just go ahead and throw a nice exotic S-class in front of them. That'll really jazz them up real good. So this one I think was like 10 or 12 million. Completely out of the price range. In the bottom left-hand corner there, if y'all want, those are the coordinates to get it. So I go back, play the ferrite, dust, magnetic ferrite, pure magnetic, all over and over and over again. And another one shows up. Another one. Exact same decaling. However, this one was actually a little bit cheaper than the other one. The other one was like 12. This one wound up being, I think, like 10. I might have been missing a slot or two. But the point is they're there. Here I piss off some drones while trying to mine some resources. And eventually, I just go full backcountry hunter. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's going for it. And that was it. I made it back. Wound up getting, you can see in the top left there, I had saved up 560,000 units. Was able to buy a pretty bottom rung ship. But you know what? It was my ship. And I earned it. And so I hope you liked what you saw. We're gonna go ahead and call the video right here for this one. It was a lot of fun to put this together. I hope that you're enjoying the content as well. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, stay rung, all the other good jazz. I will see you in the next one. skyDM over and out.